Oh, yes. Jig night on a Friday. Yep. Oh, did I cut it off before they kind of banned me again?
Are you still going through that saga, bro?
No, dude, that happened a couple times, and I pretty much they can't take my $7 a month I'm making on YouTube from me anymore.
You can keep it. You can keep it, Mr. YouTube.
I know. Guys, we already started talking. We're here. Eric, take us out, bro. Let's do roll call, my man.
Dude, man, look at everybody in the house, man. John Smith, Larry Hadley, South Jersey, JP, Bob Steven, Fish in the 262, Dave Richardson, Jonathan Loescher, Jaisley Outdoors, Bob Stevens, Dave Richardson, maybe I already said it, Darius King, a.k.a. Kentucky Lake Slayer, George Paul. Oh, yeah, man. Oh, JP, I think I got everybody.
Eric, JP Harold, you got George Bull.
Duffy's
Dave
was
Richardson.
first in. Duffy's
Jay's Outdoorsy.
Yep.
Jonathan, what's happening? Wow, everyone keeps popping in. Guys, if we miss you, Grot 84's in the house, Chris Thorne, Jimbo Slice, Matt, South Jersey Fisherman, Jeff Hunter. Oh boy. All right, guys, listen, you know how this goes. Everyone starts coming in. So the cool thing about hanging out with other bait makers and jig makers and lure makers or lure connoisseurs is that it doesn't matter how long time goes by, you come back and you're on to the same game and the same discussion and having some fun. So, Eric, what time did you get a call today from me?
Man, like in the afternoon, I was in deep into work emails, man.
Right.
You know,
I turned. So here's how this goes today, you guys. I said to the wifey, we went out for lunch today because I was off of school, and I said, hey, I think I'm gonna do a show tonight. I just feel like I want to gab, and I'm like, she's like, who are you doing a show with? I go, no one. And I go, you know what? I want to get somebody on to gab with. I go, who am I going to get? I'm like, Eric. I call him up. He's in. Thumbnail's done. Let's roll. And we're just going to BS tonight, guys. We have a lot to talk about. So there's a lot of Bass Lab things that I want to make sure that we make mention of tonight. And maybe some of you guys see some of this, but if you guys, I'm going to hold on. I'm going to run this.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, you guys, the link is also down below in the description. So anything you guys hear Eric talk about tonight, you'll be able to find on the Bass Lab, right? And which is Eric's shop, right? Yep. And most of you guys probably already know this, but if you don't, this is Eric's shop, and the link is down below too. So I'll pop this up intermittently tonight. You could chase him down on Instagram as well. But we're just going to talk jigs tonight. We were BSing today, and we're like, this is going to be a great combo tonight. We're just talking about new stuff that I'm working on.
Yeah.
What else has been going on? Yeah.
When was the last time I was on, bro?
Dude, I honestly think we're just shy of a year. Yeah. It's got to be about was it May? Maybe May last year.
Dude, so a lot happened, man. So this happened. I don't know if you know, Kuda, but I've always wanted the big check plus $2,500 big bass bonus. That was at Kerr, man, with Scooter Lilly, the Collins 2-day championship. And it's that big trophy behind me, man. That was the biggest tournament win of my life, dude. So pretty exciting. And Scooter finally got his white whale. His white whale, because his main sponsor is Angler's Choice, right? He runs an Angler's Choice boat. He's been with him forever, running boats, Triton man. And he'd never won a team Angler's Choice tournament. And we won on Kerr together. I was super stoked for Scooter. So he finally got an Angler's Choice win, man, with me. And so it's been big. It's been a big year on Kerr. We just won again a couple weeks back in a derby. It was the Boys and Girls Club tournament. And that was pretty nice as well, man. So it was like a double tournament because the Boys and Girls Club kind of doubled the prize pack. So it's been a good season, man. Been a good season. We got our teeth kicked in at least a couple times this year, man. And then last weekend, totally blew it. We did not fish clean, man. So Tim, you'll cringe when you hear this one. Knocked a 4-pounder off at the boat. I was sight fishing him. Scooter had first crack at him. Tossed my bait in on like the fourth toss, man. I was bumping her, heating her up a little bit. She sucked that bait in so freaking quick. It was like a millisecond. Her gills flared. I set the hook. I got her coming, it's, it's chaos because the fish was only 10 feet from the boat. And Scooter's got the net behind me. I go to lift, and he's about to put the net in the water, and she jumps and knocks the hook out on the gunwale of the boat. Man, terrible. Where did Cuda go? I guess I'm running the show, guys. I guess, Cuda, are you still there, bro? Hello. All right, so we got some questions, man. Yeah, we did, Tim. The Angler's Choice and Collins, which I just showed. John Smith, ditch melon with the turtleback blades. Absolutely. And yes, I will have some everlasting drop trouters with the Helgramite tail on it. So those are back in stock now in the Bass Lab. That's been a big seller. They kind of come in stock and then they sell out. So where did Cuda go? Cuda! I'm going to have to text him, man, and see what's up. I think we lost Mike Murphy. Where are you, Cuda? Give me a second, guys.
I don't know what happened, dude. Trying to get Wi-Fi back.
Dude, you're out. I'm talking to Cuda, everybody. Yeah, I'm in, man. I'm running the show.
Stay in, dude. You're all good. I don't know what happened. We got new laptops at work, and last night I cut out for a second too.
I got you. Okay, guys.
Get back in and hang out. I'll be back in a second.
Okay, guys. So Cuda's having some internet problems. I guess I have the controls right now. But John Smith was asking about this color spinnerbait, and some of you guys that watch Smallmouth Crush, you'll be familiar with it. It's a color called ditch melon. And let me see if I can get a picture of that. So it's like a cantaloupe top with a little bit of pearl white, and this one has the orange kicker blade on it. Here's a great story about the origins of this color. So I posted it up on Instagram, and I work with Gary Sheets at 9K Elite Lures, Mr. Sheets, and we make a lot of the River Rat spinner baits. This is a thumper blade, and I said I wanted to bring, and I had sourced some of that color. It's like a cantaloupe color. I couldn't find it domestically anywhere. So I scoured the planet, and I got some from the UK. And I only had enough for like, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 spinner baits. And we made a first run, and they sold out really, really fast. We found another source for it, and we got all that they had at the time. And, I've done a couple runs of it. But when I posted it up on Instagram, Baxter the Baitman goes, man, that's Mark Menendez's secret color. And I knew Mark threw it. And then my buddy, Sean Hernke, who's a former pro, still bass fishes down in Texas, he goes, no, that's not Menendez's secret color. The guy who came up with this color that kicked everybody's ass in Texas for years, his name is Elroy Kruger. And Rick Clunn was quoted in an article that Elroy Kruger was one of the best natural fishermen that he's ever met, and the best spinnerbait fisherman that he's ever known. Elroy understood the spinnerbait like nobody else. He understood shape and profile. He understood working a spinnerbait shallow to deep and deep to shallow. He understood depth and speed and cadence. But this is Elroy's secret color. So I use it in the spring. I use it in muddier water. This is obviously a thumper style blade. It's a big kicker blade with the orange kicker blade right there. This is a great pre-spawn color. And it does work for me. So it's a kind of a variation of the River Rat spinnerbait, which somebody was just asking about. And this River Rat spinnerbait is something that, again, with Gary Sheets, I designed. I made the prototype in the Bass Lab. This one's in Junebug, my signature color. But why I like this bait a lot is it's a very compact spinnerbait. And there's a couple things about it. It's got a thin wire, not too thin, a haywire twist on the front, which I think strengthens the spinnerbait. It doesn't bend out on the hook set. So you get a really nice positive hook set. I love a turtleback blade. I'm using the hammered blades right here. The hammered blade is one of the more subtle flashes, but it gives you a decent amount of thump and vibration. So it really fools the fish a lot. I've got it also. It's a hand-tied skirt. It's a hidden weight system, which allows it to be a compact bait. So there's a lot of the weight is in the shaft. And so what that does for is a couple things. It's very balanced. It doesn't want to roll because it's keel weighted. so it'll come over cover without rolling over and snagging. And then a little bit of flash boo, as you can see in there, just a hint of that flash boo. So I've got a bunch of different colors, but this spinner bait paired up with a nice little small swim bait can get you big bites. It's won 3 tournaments. It was part of the win for me and Riz on the Upper Bay. It was the last tournament of the season in one of the series up there, and we weighed in 2481. And this bait helped give us the clues to what the pattern was. So I was pretty pumped about that. And then Mikey Powers, he won on a couple different Bass Lab baits, a couple tournaments up there. But it comes in different colors. You know, one of the odd colors I make, which you really can't find, a green pumpkin style spinner bait with a copper blade. This is called Freak Show. Anthony knows about it. If you're watching, Anthony, there you go. And then we've got it coming out in the golden shiner. A lot of different colorways here. We've got White Lightning, Chartreuse Shad Nasty, which, you know, is a white and chartreuse, but all the colors are available on the site. You guys see. Some of them are sold out. They sell out pretty quick when I get them. And then the next thing I'll show you guys, what's new at the Bass Lab. And this just notched its first tournament win. We call it the Mad Hatter Vibrating Jig. It is a split ring style, but I wish Kuda was on to hear this. We use the adjuster to modify the mold and have cracked the code on how to get this thing to hunt. This is a hunting son of a gun. It just notched its first tournament win in PA. I like to throw a spunk style shad. A lot of people don't know, before Hog Farmer came out with a spunk shad, and Missile Baits is making one too. Jackal had the eye shad. It's almost the exact same bait. I've been using this for over a decade on chatterbaits and have done a lot of damage on it. So now you can get it cheaper. I used to have to go to Japan to get this, but there's a lot of different style trailers that I like, you know, whether you're using craw or minnow style. I like the blade minnow from Strike King. It allows this bait to hunt. This is a harder thumping bait than the jackhammer. It is not for heavy grass. So I like this pre-spawn, little cooler water. If you don't have a lot of grass on your fishery, it's good anytime. It's got a stout mustad hook on the back, so it handles bigger fish. It's a hand-tied skirt, and this is the Epic June bug color, and this was the color that won the Derby in PA. He was using it in dirtier water, and he did marry it up with a spunk shad. It was a father-son team. Tim is his name, with his son, so super stoked. And I got a couple new colors coming out in this one. Let's see what I got. Then I want to show you guys a trick for you football dudes, and I want to hear if anybody's ever done it. So this is a little thing that you guys might be able to use if you're dragging football jigs and you want add a little extra action. So the new colors in the Mad Hatter are Hot Mama. It's Black Betty, which is your standard black and blue, and Golden Shina. And it comes in, you know, as I've already showed you, Epic Bug. White Lightning, got a couple little red strands of on the bottom there. This is Chartreuse Shad Nasty. And then this one is Gizzard Wizard. So if you got Gizzard Shad, it's a great big bait type of harder thumping, slower rolling. It's a great alternative to the jackhammer. Doesn't cost $15.99. So that's the Mad Hatter on the Bass Lab site. So I want to show you guys a little tip and trick, and I can't claim the credit for it, but I've used these Switchblades. If you guys have seen them, Switchblades. Who's ever used a Switchblade out there? Let me know. Sound off in the comments. But it's Queen's Tackled. It is licensed by Z-Man, and it does have a patent on it. Well, I don't know. This one has a patent. Z-Man has a patent, but it's licensed by Z-Man, so they're not doing anything illegal. And I put that recently on the front of a football jig, and let me tell you something. I was dragging that football jig, and I was shocked. I was dragging it through pretty heavy rock, and I didn't get snagged nearly as much as you might expect with a football jig. I mean, it was some nasty stuff. So Switchblades, man, who does it? Let me see. South Jersey. I've used the doe olive stick. I got that in my pack from the Hooked Up Tackle. No, the Golden Shiner doesn't come in a 1 ounce. It only comes in right now 1/2 ounce, and we're modifying a mold for a 3/8 as well. So right now it's just a 1/2 ounce. So And the half ounce, again, it is a wild hunting bait, no modification needed. We've cracked the code on it. So let me it is the Ultra Point, Tim. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Gary Ong says it falls a little more horizontally. Let's see if any other twisted wire a little more sensitive to vibration than the R-bend. Tim, I'd have to agree. Let's see. Colored beads instead of gold above the clezes. Next round, we'll colored beads, some of the other colors. Okay, cool, man. Good feedback, man. Yeah, and JP Harrell, yeah, I am definitely putting a trailer. I've used a lot of different trailers on it. If I'm looking for a bigger bite, I like a smaller size swim bait. Strike King. I'll also use the split tail trailer. Zoom makes one. There's a lot of different brands out there. And sometimes I just fish it naked if I want to really be finessey. You know what I mean? A grub is a great option as well. Yeah, man. I mean, it just gets bit. It gets a lot of bites. It comes in a quarter, 3/8, a half right now. And that's the river rat. So we're also working on a kind of a grass type of spinner bait. It's called the grass weasel. It's got a different head, but compact again. So it slides through grass, but I'm just digging this spinnerbait, man. It is, it just gets bit everywhere I fish it. I took the golden shiner down to Florida and they responded very well to it. So, man, what else happened this summer for me? Or actually this spring, I went down to Florida and I spent, 3 weeks down there throwing big baits and chasing big bass. Tangled with one double digit that did not make it into the boat. And then on my last day in Florida, that's after I hung out with the Uncle Larry crew, man. That was just fantastic. The Uncle Larry crew, if you guys haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you should check them out, man. They just fish like I used to when I was a kid, man. Their passion for it is fantastic. And no boats were involved, just, terra firma underfoot, man, walking around ponds and doing it old school. But anyway, I was with Keith Wilson. He specializes in big baits. And we were fishing a lake and they just weren't responding to the big bait. So it was foggy in the morning. You could barely see 20 feet in front of you. And I said, this is pre-spawn. So what I'm going to do, I put on an old school Bagley spin tail. I'd like to hear if anybody still throws a Bagley spin tail. And I threw, and there's a post on this on my Instagram at Epic Eric Official. I was throwing the plastic version, and that plastic version is super buoyant. It's really springy. And it really, the tail, whatever tail spinner they put on it is very good. It spins great. And they started responding to it because I knew the fish were up spawning. And immediately I started catching mostly buck bass. But later in the day, the sun got high. The water warmed up a little bit because we had a little bit of a cold front. That's what caused the fog. And in the middle of a horseshoe in a pad field, I threw the spin tail in there, man. Let the ring settle a little bit. I was fishing kind of fast, and I like pop and let it pause, and I pop. And man, when I let it sit, it was a giant, uncorked on it. We saw the head and the back of the fish. I know it was a double digit, and I couldn't control it. There was hydrilla in the middle, a lot of hydrilla, a lot of milfoil, and pad fields. And these pad fields were beautiful. They were smaller pad fields, like with lanes and channels in between. So I lost that fish. So I stuck with it, man. And I was throwing on a Brent Anderson big topwater rod. It's BA has made, I think, one of the best topwater rods out there. And I was using 30-pound braid to 17-pound big game, probably like a foot section. So 30-pound to 17-pound big game to the spin tail, the Bagley spin tail. And there was a little point that came out and a little bit of buck brush that came over that was hanging over. And it looked like to me that there should be a bed there. So I made a great cast right up next to the bank. There was a little bit of a grass edge. I let it sit for a second, pop, and then pop. And she boiled, missed it. I reacted, but I didn't pull it away. And then she came back and just blew up on it, man. And I ended up landing that fish. And it was a 25-inch largemouth bass. We didn't have a scale, so I didn't weigh it. But 25 inchers are very rare no matter where you're fishing. She wasn't like a super fat female, but she was a fat female. She wasn't a spawner, let's say. Maybe she had just dropped or was in the process of dropping, but she had a belly on her. So I think that might be my DD, but I can't claim it because I didn't weigh it. So, you know, and the Uncle Larry boys were super proud because they never weigh any of their fish, man. I think they've weighed one, and they caught that on camera as a cast to catch on a spinnerbait down there. So it's a really cool video if you have a chance to watch it. So, man, I've been talking a mile a minute. I haven't been looking at the comments, man. I know I did, Tim. Yes, I caught my PB. That is my new PB. The prior PB was an 8.6, a cast to catch on film with Scooter Lily up at Smith Mountain Lake on a swim bait. And yeah, so that it's been a very eventful spring because I had stuck with a big bait in Florida for most of the trip. I caught some good ones on it, but nothing that was, you know, crazy special. Anyway, man, it's been an outstanding spring. Some really highs and lows from a tournament perspective, but it was great to win another one with Scooter. We also came in third place on a very cold front, windy grinder type of day, caught over 50 fish. And the odd part was Scooter didn't even want to weigh in. And I'm like, I'm weighing those fish in. We work for this. And walked up there, man. We notched third and got second place option pot. So pretty good stuff, man. Pretty good stuff. So John Smith, yes, the plan is to get some Bass Lab tuned buzz baits. One of the Bass Lab tuned buzz baits last year was part of a tournament win on the Upper Bay. And I do some, you know, I do a few tricks. If you guys, you know, watch Smallmouth Crush, I did a whole episode on buzz baits and you know, hacks, tips, and tricks. And I probably break it down, but it's one of the things I like to do with my buzz bait that, you know, it shortens the life of your buzz bait, but I can tell you this, it makes it perform right out of the gate. First cast, you know, it's tuned up, ready to go. And I think it matters too, man. So absolutely. So let's see. Kuda is still trying to get in. I saw him for a second, as you guys did too. All right, South Jersey, what you got, man? I had a question about those Magula swim jigs. Rocky Wood, you know, what's interesting is South Jersey, that jig, I think, looks like the structure, the Strike King structure, Bauer structure jig. You tell me, man, because I have that Magula swim jig, and it is a very unique line tie, but so is the structure jig. So to me, I think that's what they made that for, right? Yeah, absolutely, man. Yep. Padfield means Timber King. You got that right. What else? Let me go back up in the so Bassin with Big Malone says he's in the same dilemma. Caught a 24.5, no scale. Not fat, but a tank. Man, you got that right, man. That's got to be in the 9-pound class for sure. Just depends on how she was built, man. Oh, Tim, you're right. I think she would have been 11 in the spawn. Yes, Bassin with Big Malone. It is like a jerkbait with a prop. I thought I had one down here because I did a show and I showed it, but I think I took it back upstairs after the show. Yeah, I did. Because I wanted to show the baits that did some work in Florida. And she gone. She's back up top. So, dang, my camera's going crazy. Whoa. Let me see. I'll keep going back up. Yeah, Chris, thank you very much, man. And Brown Bait Co. Keith is the man. No question about it. JP, thank you, brother. I'm glad that spinnerbait work did work for you some last fall. What color were you throwing, bro? And Brown Bacon, no, I did not grab another mystery box from the hooked up hide up box. Tim, you don't trust the Queen Switchblades. I know, I hear you, man. Scooter was like, you trust that? I'm like, yeah, man. Until I lose one, I'll let you know. Pandemonium Paladin, yes, that was the river rat spinnerbait that I showed. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think I covered all the questions, man. Let's see what else just came in. So, what do you guys want to talk about since Kuda's gone, man? I'll show for those of you who don't know me. I got some stickers that I'm pretty proud of too in the Bass Lab, and I gave out one of these recently, and this is one of the newest ones. I don't know how many of you guys have seen these, but this is one of my favorites, man. I was down in Nag's Head recently. And in the Outer Banks, and I had some of these in my car, and I took them into this restaurant we were at, and I heard a guy talking about fishing. He was a bartender, and so I put together the pack, and out of all the stickers, man, this was his favorite, and it's one of my favorites too. It's the She Thick sticker. Goonie Wolf is the artist. He's out of Las Vegas, and I've hired him to make some stickers, man. But I've given a few of these out. The She Thick Award. I think Matt Pangreck's running around with this sticker on his boat. What's the other one that's relatively newer that maybe you guys haven't seen? I think the guys on Smallmouth Crush have. This is the Keep On Grinding Award. That's for all the grinders out there, man, that stick with the big bait till they die. Here's one of my other favorites. Could have just texted me. Let's see what's happening. Give me a second. Sorry, buddy, I can't get the sound to work. Hang around as long as you want. I guess it's just me tonight then. This is the River Rat. That's one of my absolute favorites because I consider myself a river rat and all my homies. I have this in a shirt as well. The next one is Tug Life. You got to love the Tug Life, right? Yeah, I'd like to get that on a shirt, man. Goonie absolutely slayed that one. And he put our names in graffiti right on the brick wall, which is pretty cool. And then you got Rise and Glide for all you big bait guys out there. This is another one of my favorites. And that's available in a t-shirt on the Bass Lab site. Bassapalooza. I took these up to Susquehanna Fishing Tackle. Who's a fan of Susquehanna Fishing Tackle? George Accord and his brother went nutty because I think they own like maybe the trademark on Bassapalooza. I don't know. But I think I might be doing some collab, either hats or shirts with all these designs with those guys. So I also love this one, Dr. Frankenstein. That is available on the Bass Lab site in a shirt as well. And then the Bass Lab, the OG logo, which is, my logo for my site. So, and the shirt sold out. I'm trying to get some more in, but I do have hats and I think maybe a few beanies left on the site. So, if you like what you see, man. And I think I got some River Rat shirts too. I think I already said that, but yeah, that's the slap portion. But man, what do you guys want to talk about? Kudo, I was going to interview Kudo about some of the new stuff that he's got going on. I know he's working on a really cool jig. I'll let him talk about it if he can get it back going. He says he can't get the sound going, so I think it's just me. What else is happening in the Bass Lab, man? I like this thing I just made. I'm just kind of rolling, guys, in no particular order. I made something and I'm calling it the Clacky Wacky. So and you guys could probably do this at home too, but anyway, so it's for wacky rigging. And let's see if you can hear it. I'm going to just be quiet for a second and shake this for a second. So this is my wacky rig. I put a little dressing on it there just for a little added appeal. Some beads. You can mix up the color of the beads, but hold on, listen to this. Check this out. So when you shake it, when you're popping it up and you're shaking it on the fall, can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear it. Probably can't hear it. I can hear it, but you can't hear it. Anyway, it's the Clacky Wacky. You gotta trust me, it's clicking. So opinions. Will it work? Not needed. Wacky's good enough that you don't need it. Kuda!
Broke electronics, Kuda.
Oh, you're back, dude.
I'm so sorry, Eric, and everyone. So, guys, I'm on a new laptop. This shouldn't be complicated, but for whatever reason, I'm looking and I see the swirly and like the internet goes down. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I go check the internet. No, the internet's fine. So let's power down, start back up. I do, but there's no sound on this freaking machine. I go, what should I do? So what I call the 16-year-old son over. He's like, turn it off again and back on. And I'd already messaged you. I'm like, I'm done. And I turn it off again and back on, and the sound's back on. I go, this is stupid. Here we are, dude. But anyway,
all right, man. I just was rolling through stuff, man. I was talking about my Florida trip. I showed the stickers, man. I showed my Clacky Wacky. Have you seen the Clacky Wacky?
You show it because I gotta see.
Did you see it? I don't know if you saw it.
I don't think I did because I'm not recalling this in my head. But I'm also very frustrated right now.
So there it is, man.
Hold on, let me make you big again here.
Listen, I'll put it up to the mic. Hold on. I don't know where the sound comes through, so we got to be quiet.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Clacky Wacky, dude. Clacky Wacky.
What did you tie in, like a little rattle inside on the jig? Hold that up again. How big is it?
Secret sauce. So it's a stinger hook.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I don't have the correct beads to go on there. It was really hard to get it on, man. And I used something to stop the beads. The bead has an eyeball on it, so it's a tungsten style bead.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try it, man. I want to try it. It's just something I cooked up.
Absolutely, dude.
A lot of people on the wacky, like I watch weighted wacky. This is probably a weighted clacky wacky because it's tungsten. So there's not a lot of weight on it, but it's certainly going to be heavier than just your plain hook, right? And it's got a little dressing, a little very sparse material. It's round. It acts like rubber, but it's not. It's pretty cool material. Anyway, because it is round and super springy. And I watch Shin Fukai. I think Shin is one of the best finesse fishermen on the tour.
Sure.
And when I watched him weighted wacky, I noticed I did it opposite that he did. He shakes it a lot, but he shakes it on slack line on the way down.
Okay.
So pull it up, and then as it's falling, he's going shaking it on slack line. So it's more like an inchy wacky.
Yeah,
the inchy wacky technique was born in Japan for highly pressured fish. Inchy wacky is weighted wacky, and it was called inchy wacky because they're shaking it on slack line. So it's not really shaking a ton, but and they used it with that Jacko flick shake worm.
It's nice that you have that sound on it. The best I had anything that had any sound on a wacky ever is when I used to so when wacky rigging first came out, I started using a Gamakatsu Kale styled hook in size. Gosh, I don't even remember what it was anymore because I don't use them that way. But what we used to do, you remember the rubber core sinkers, Eric?
Yep.
They were kind of cylindrical, but a little longer, and they had that little rubber piece in the middle. Well, we would pull that out, and we would crimp that onto the shank, the longer end of the shank of the Kale hook, and we would use that for our wacky rigs. And if you crimped it right, you would get movement on it a little bit. So when it would slide down to hit the bend, you would get the slightest of noise, not like a clacking like that. You would just get a little bit of something. And for the longest time, I still have some in my box from years ago, but now I kind of make them and pour them. But I like that old style. I almost would prefer to make them, but that's really cool that you did that. So are you making these for yourself? Are you selling them yet, or what are you doing?
For me, just for me right now, because I haven't found a way. I got to get a source for a less expensive bead. I've gone to Michael's and I got these beads. And they're cheap, right? So that could be cost effective, and it's not much material. It does require one more component, but that weighted wacky, man, I think it's we used to use it in the grass, a Kale hook with a weed. It was a weedless one, had the wire weed guard, right? And we would use the Gremlin bull shot. Because the Gremlin bull shot is a bullet style sinker. So, because me, I'm always fishing grass. So you got to think about how's that weighted wacky coming through the grass. But 1/8 ounce or smaller, crimped on, and I usually would tie a little bit of thread on the shank of the hook so it would stay on.
Yes.
It makes me think of when you said your weight would slide around a little bit. Lee Sisson, I wish I could find these. He molded a piece of lead that would come on a Senko style Texas hook.
Really?
And what was it called, man? I've only got a couple left. And that thing, it was called the dinger. Tim, help me, man. When I was on Bass University with Lee, he talked about it. He said that thing helped him cash the dingaling. Maybe it was the dingaling. The dingaling. And the weight would slide up and down the shank. So it was just a piece of lead. It had a hole in it. It was like a bulbous on the bottom. But that thing, it would give it a whole lot of extra crazy movement. So, because a wacky worm or a Senko's got that shimmy, but with that weight, it did even extra special things. So,
Tim's asking what? Say the question again. Tim's asking, what's the question?
What's the question, Tim?
Well, you were asking about what was the name of it.
Yes,
the name.
Can somebody Google the dingaling and see if that's
you're going to get some interesting results.
I know. It's a hook with a piece of lead on it, man. I think that's what it was called. God, it's something I got to think of.
Eric, it's funny you're saying that because I want you to know that. Okay, so Do It has a mold. They have a wacky mold, and there's lots of other ways to make wacky type baits, right? But that Do It mold, I've started using it, but I got to tell you, it's not as balanced as it used to be when we put those rubber core. We used to put an 1/8 or a 16th ounce rubber core sinker on the Kale hooks, and it just doesn't seem to be as balanced, and it changes the action in the water from what I used to use all the time. And to be honest with you, funny enough, Eric, this was for largemouth. So riverine based largemouth on the Calsag River is how we predominantly would use that rig. It would catch smallmouth too, but I just remember catching, that was a bait that we had in our mix. If you had 5 rods out, you had a square bill, a spinner bait, a brush hog, and a wacky rig with that rubber cord sinker on, and it was just one of the go-tos in your rotation for little pick-me-up tournaments on Wednesday nights. Like that was a bait that caught fish. And it was deadly on the edge of weed lines and stuff, outside weed lines on rivers. It was just like, it was
right.
I love it. It's so interesting to hear some of these old techniques and things that we were using.
Heck yeah.
I went out, Eric, I went out the other day, and what was I was throwing, there's one pond that I like to go to, small little lake, largemouth lake. And I'm just walking the bank and I'm fishing from shore, but I stumbled upon at this particular lake a very specific technique in the way the bait was rigged that just was always a bread and butter to me. And it's the only place I'll use it. Well, basically it's a 7-inch Berkeley power worm, right? In blue flake. But you have to, for whatever reason, you really have to scale down at this lake. I don't know why. I would scale down to like a size 2/0, a Gamakatsu extra wide gap hook on it. So I wouldn't be throwing a big 3/0 or a 4/0. It was always a scale down to a 2/0 and sometimes even a 1/0 in the spring. And all I know is it just changed the action. And I fish it almost exclusively on a 16th or an 1/8 ounce bullet head. And all I know, it just changed the rate of fall, the action, the entirety of how that bait just functioned. And it's the only place I use that small of an extra wide gap hook. It
was called the Dangleberry.
The Dangleberry. There we go.
Lee Sisson Dangleberry. That was it. So if anybody has a stock of Lee Sisson Dangleberries, I will talk to you about trading, man. Speaking of old school, man, I got to show you one more thing, dude.
Yes, show.
I'm a big fan because of the flow, and this will speak to you, Kuda. And this is a Bass Lab tuned up little buzzbait, man. So I don't have a rusted rivet on it, but this is a head clacker, very compact. You can see it's done work. Look at the head right there.
Oh my God, look at that skirt on it too, buddy.
Not this color combination, but this was part of a win with me and Scooter on Gaston. It is silicone, but flat, like flat rubber. The flow on this skirt, dude. Holy crap. I got to go get, check this out. And I've got it in old school colors, dude. That is like old school lime green, yellow, and white river rat color right there.
Is that all the same size there? Because some of the lime looks like it's the new stuff.
Yeah, the lime is bigger than the interior of the skirt.
Okay,
so
got it.
It's 2 different size strands, if you will. But the flow on this. So if you're not throwing a toad, you're throwing a traditional skirt. I'd throw that over silicone every single day. I'd cut the silicone off. I don't throw a buzzbait with silicone anymore.
I really like that combination on that.
The flow is ridiculous because it's flat, and when it's going through the water, it's like it's moving. Silicone can't match it, bro.
Right.
It can't match it. I'm going to put these up on the website for sale soon. I don't have them listed yet, but if
anybody are you making them yourself, Eric? Are you cutting them? Or are you making them yourself? Nice.
No, I'm not making them. I just sourced them and had them made in colors I like. So
nice, perfect. So here's the thing. I'll add to what Eric's talking about, you guys. So one of the things that when you're dealing with the rubber skirting material, when it's flat as opposed to round, is the concept is that it's going to move. It's going to move more water. You're going to get more movement and undulation out of it. It doesn't mean it's going to move faster or quicker, but it's just the flow of it is going to be different, right? And if you think of it, think of something that's flat, right?
Yeah.
And water flowing against it, what type of surface area you're going to get, or water flowing up against, a round rubber, what's going to have more surface area that it's going to move? And it's going to be the flat rubber. So just think about that conceptually in terms of whether it's old school rubber or, some of the newer versions or the different styles. It does change how that jig looks in the water, right? And that's why it's so interesting. I love that combo though. That's very nice.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I got it in some old school colors, and the cool thing is it's silicone, so it won't melt. It doesn't react to any of your other stuff, so it's silicone, which is cool.
Nice. Jeff, we'll
Yep.
see you, buddy. I know you're saying you got to go, so that's all good. That's
well, I talked
nice.
about like all the new stuff I had going on, dude. What do you got going on, man?
Yeah, I mean,
what's new with Jigsquad? You got cool stickers.
I definitely have cool stickers. There's so many cool stickers out there, right? But so the big thing is, guys, and I'm just gonna spill the beans on this tonight. It's not like this is a big secret, but a couple things. One is, I just want everyone to hear me say it. So I love everything that Jigsquad has done in the last year and a quarter, right? But I will tell you this. So I made a little mention last night too. So I'm booked out with guests, I think, until July.
That's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I did that because I knew, like, I booked everything like over winter break when I was off from school, right? Because I'm like, I have the time, I could get the thumbnails done. Let's work on getting this scheduled out in advance. Because the second half of the year gets inherently busy for me. So, but what I'm deciding, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, so you guys understand this. I love the banter. I love that we connect with people in chat.
Yep.
And that's kind of one of the hallmarks of things that we want to keep doing. But what I'm going to do after the July bookings is I'm still going to try and do interviews, but they're not going to be as frequent.
Yeah.
But Jigsquad is still going to go live, and we're going to do more things like this, right? Where Eric's going to jump on with me, and we're just going to BS about, the happenings going on in the bass world, or some baits, or what else we're up to. It gives us a chance it gives me a chance just to hang out. And it's not always about interviewing people. And there's a difference, right? And it's not that when you have somebody on as a guest, it's not that you can't have a new person on the show and still ask them questions. That's not it.
Right.
But it's a different style of media when it's just straight up really interviewing, or it becomes a little more just gabbing and see where it goes. And I'm going to be honest with everyone. I need more of that in my life. That's
right
the truth,
man. Right.
I think the other thing that happens is, I think when we do the interviews, a lot of times, like, people have told me that there's moments in time where they wait for that kernel of information that comes out. So what that means is that a lot of times people think that a lot of it is similar, right? Similar information that other designers are using and things like that. So I don't ever want that to go away. I think that'll always be part of Jigsquad. But we're going to do some more hanging out.
Yep. Hey, I did one more version of this clacky wacky.
Yes.
I think it's cool, man, because this is a walleye dude hook.
Yeah, let's see
this. This is a walleye dude hook, and this is especially for like dirtier water, man. So I think people like hook as a tractor. Hook as a tractor. Think about that concept. The hook becomes an integral part of what is going on. I use the chartreuse stinger hook.
And you've always been a fan of the red. So I know that's not red, but the point is,
this is chartreuse. I used to do that. I would wrap chartreuse thread around some of my weighted wacky hooks that I made. I would do red. I would do chartreuse, and especially for like a smallmouth. Like a smallmouth, I mean, to me, I'd size it down. It's a 4-inch little Senko, man. But I don't know, man. Maybe it's too crazy. You could cut the front off if you didn't like it. You don't even have to have it on. But the whole concept of a chartreuse hook as a tractor. Very interesting.
Well, it blends together really well with, it's almost like a lot, as you think about with the trout guys, like Copper Johns and all that type of stuff, where they're wrapping wire.
Oh, heck yeah.
A lot of times for the body, but it's typically colored, So,
right. The whole fly scene, right? I mean, because it's imitating something, but flash and color matter. Like, there's some old school crankbait dudes that if they're throwing a shad colored crankbait, they're looking for a chrome hook. I found like a little stash of Gamakatsu silver. They're not silver plated. I guess they're chromed. Yeah. Now they're not quite as sharp as the Gami bronze. But can I go get them? I just want to
get
show.
them. Are you talking about the B10Ss you started to use on the on your drop shots? Because you switched your B10Ss to a newer version with that coating on it, right?
Yeah, they make the B10S now in a nano coating. It's hard to get. It's more expensive, so I'll use both. But no, I just thought it was cool that those are walleye hooks, but it's a stinger. And I'm like, chartreuse, why not? Let me get the silver hook.
Go get them.
My camera's gonna get a little goofy, man, but I want to talk about this coating.
Yeah, this is good because if you guys saw that, you saw how that chartreuse kind of matched up really well with the browns and whatever other holographic type colors were included in that bait Eric was holding up. So it's a cool concept. And keep in mind, so like when we talk about stuff with less material, right? Which you guys know we talk about flow and all these other parts of when there's less material, how it impacts what the bait looks like. Well, it's no different than somebody wrapping like a chenille body or some other type of concept around the fly. Why not have an underlayment that has an accentuating type color? It's super cool. That one would look really sharp with that chartreuse and the browns.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, Smallies love that. I mean, I turned Travis on to the chartreuse net head and the red net head because I was a big, and you guys know this if you know me, I'm a big Midwest finesse forum guy. I've been reading it for years. Ned Katie writes for it, the father of the Ned, although he won't take credit for it. But here's the tin gamakatsu. So imagine that on a crankbait.
Make it big here, buddy. There you go.
There you go. And this is the bronze. You guys know I'm a fan of the red as well. I use the reds a lot. And so that's a number 4. And that's the bronze. And then I'm going to hold up the red. And for all you crankbait nuts that are trying to find, there's 3 different color hooks, man. But, you know, there might be times that I'd like a chartreuse hook. You know, you could do this. I was just thinking about it. You could dip it in plasti dip. I mean, a lot of baits get better when you tie a feathered treble on the back of it.
Eric, dip and die.
Dip. Oh, that's right. Dip and die.
Yes.
You could make your.
You know what? I'm going to tell you my old mentor's secret.
And then wait a minute.
On Buds. Oh, show these. Let's make you big.
Gold hooks, dude.
Yeah,
now these are replacement hook for gotchas because you guys know I like to chase Spanish mackerel in the salt.
Yes,
and those hooks rust crazy. But gamakatsu, believe it or not, makes a gold. Really nice hook. Cool. I have to get them from Japan, but you know, I love a gold and black Bagleys and having a gold hook on that, and they're super sharp, man. I mean, I don't know, man. If it just gives you a little bit of an edge, a little more flash, I don't know. I think it'd be cool. And why not? I'd want them to strike the hook.
Yeah, you know, you remember when you're messing around with that Dorito lipped blade? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. So my old mentor, he's gone now. From this earth. But the thing is, we used to go in there and he was always so impressed with that dip and die. He would take the plastic blades for blade baits or for the buzz baits, the plastic ones. He'd have them in the shop. He goes, watch this. And he'd take them and he'd dip them in clear. And then it comes out and it's chartreuse or like a green pumpkin or like a root beer.
Cool.
And I thought of that the other day, or when you showed that Dorito one originally, I go, you know what? I guarantee that the Spike It Dip and Glow or not the glow,
would work.
You probably could do the same thing. And I've watched him do the same thing on Colorado blades for making spinner baits and stuff. It's gonna be like a translucent metallic color still, but it's just another way to add that different dimension to it. But the plastic dip would probably work.
Yeah, the micarta blades bug me, man. I mean, it's just like, you know, TK hates me for saying it, but you know, I've got this nice red crankbait with a milky white lip. What sense does that make? Make it red, dude. I mean, the goddamn bait it's red, and I got a milky white thing. What is that? I mean, come on. If it's banging around the rocks, I want to make it red or orange, so the fish is like, yeah, man, the whole thing matches. I'm not saying they won't bite it. I've got plenty of them on it. But
Brendan Brown said Marty was not happy.
I don't care. It's my bait. I paid for it. I can do whatever I want.
You make your Dorito baits however you want.
Yeah, he hated it. TK was like, that's hideous. I don't care.
It was hilarious.
It
Dip and
was
die.
funny,
Yeah,
man.
Gary Ung. That's you're saying it the right way. It's dip and die.
Here's all the colors of the skirts. I just found them. I just want to show you. So Fire Tiger. And
dude.
I'm gonna
almost
tell you
looks like it almost looks like they're clearish a little bit too. Yes.
No,
they're not like that. They're not they look less opaque.
It's definitely less opaque for sure. But so Fire
that
Tiger,
one I really like.
Fire Tiger buzzbait skirts in clear water. I'm just gonna say it. Enough said. For largemouth. Classic chartreuse. This is a color combo you do not see a lot, and they bite the shit out of this on a buzzbait. Black and
like a shad color.
Oh, buddy, it's two of the best contrasting colors into one. Do not sleep on this skirt for your buzzbait. And when the bluegills are spawning, this is the skirt, the exact skirt I gave Travis on a heavier buzzbait that got him third place in the Costa. He should have won it, but I helped him find the area and showed him how to fish a buzzbait in grass. But that black and yellow, I'm telling you, man, when the bluegills are popping in a grass bed and you hear them sucking down the bugs, you know you're in the right spot. Mm-hmm. And a frog with a yellow belly, which I gave him a popping frog too, which scored for him as well.
Yeah.
I think he employed three things, like the buzzbait, the popping frog I gave him. I told him to have a Senko ready. And then I think he added a whopper plopper too, because they were eating that as well. But yeah, man, that black and yellow is nasty with a gold blade right there when the bluegills are spawning. They do not like it, and they crack it on my rivers. So anyway, those are some of the I think there's a few more colors. I've obviously got Snow White and a few other ones, but I just wanted to show you guys that. So and I'm going to put those on the site.
Okay, that's good. Guys, listen, I'll put it up again, and then again the link is down below.
But yeah, because if you ever got a Bass Lab Tune buzzbait in one of my packs, because I do a lot of Professor packs, I think I only got one left on the site. It's the pre-spawn dynamite. Everything else is sold out. And that's where I put a collection of baits. And a lot of them are from my personal collection. I might add in, stuff I'm working with Gary Sheets from 9K. But, it's mostly hard baits and wire baits and vibration baits, a lot of crank baits and lipless style baits. But if you've ever got a tuned up buzzbait for me, it had that skirt on it. And Mikey Powers used one of the buzzbaits he got for me for one of his tournament wins on the Upper Bay last year in September 17 and change, which is a very strong bag. Very strong bag. So
17, sure it is.
Yep. Pandemonium Paladin, that Bow Chickawawa Mad Hatter is coming in, man. Coming back in. We're working on it. We're working on restocking. I'm trying to do.
What color does he like? What color does Elf like?
So it's Bow Chickawawa.
Oh, yeah.
It's sold out on the site. It's like a green pumpkin kind of flavor. But I've been talking to Gary about trying to put together I want to call it Blades of Glory.
Okay.
Just all bladed jigs and all river rat and thumper baits all in a box. One of the Professor packs. So it's going to be loaded up with the best of 9K. So, and I might throw a few things in, like a couple Bass Lab Tune buzz baits, because those are bladed too. And maybe some JDM stuff that, some of my favorites, because I've got some sneaky little stuff that I like.
Nice.
From Japan. So I always mix and match, domestic Japan. I like stuff that's made in the USA, but me, I'm a JDM nut. So
yeah, that's awesome, buddy. All right. So you asked about the jigs, right? So I've told people about.
Tell me.
All right. So listen, guys, everyone talks about they want a good, micro football. There's a couple good ones out there. The missile bait stuff, the Mike Iaconelli small swim jigs and stuff, the Kitech, they're phenomenal baits. But there's certain things that I wanted a small football jig to do. And ultimately what happened is I started seeing that people were starting to put some things out there. Like there's other people that are working on smaller footballs. So I said, well, I'm not going to get caught behind because I've been working on this for a long time. And I said, smaller football jig. I've got a 1-aught Mustad, 60-degree eye in there. Oh, and I'll hold up the blue. My lighting stinks now, guys. This will be one. And there's 3 videos. There's 3 videos of 3 colors right now on my Instagram page. One is
big. Kuda, make yourself big, bro.
Yeah, one is Ghost Blue Craw, which is the one I'm holding up now.
There you
which
go.
Is very hard to see. But guys, like I said, this is how I design jigs. You see the translucency, sorry, everything's shitty with the light.
No, this is good. Kuda, we see it much better, man. Hold your hand behind it.
You see how we're getting, you see how you're getting a little bit of flash. The whole point behind this, guys, is
that's beautiful.
And this has got the head, and there's a wire keeper, right? There's a wire keeper on this.
Very nice.
So I poured all these myself. There may be other things to come down the line with this, but there's 3 colors that you'll be able to see in detail if you go holding these up right now doesn't do this justice.
Yeah.
Right. This one I call Crack-a-Lack and Craw. And and basically this is going to be an orange and brown with a little bit of flash in there. But if you notice the trend that's going on here, all this is my version of something off a famous tube up in the Sturgeon Bay area.
Beauty,
and basically
man.
it's an amber colored skirt with something that I started using a lot of in baits is this light purple color.
Is
just
that like
as an
UV light purple? That's pretty.
Yeah. So the point in all this, though, guys, everything when you design something new and you say this is what it's going to be, I'm calling these jigs shape shifter jigs, and they're not changing shape. But I will tell you this: they're only 1/8 ounce. Now, I want to tell you a couple things, and I want you to start paying attention to this when other bait makers talk about the jigs that they make. That 1/8 ounce jig is what that thing weighs out at before you add a skirt, paint, tie it up, all that type of stuff. That jig will weigh out after everything's all said and done at just under 3/16 of an ounce, which in a 60-degree eye, with a straight 60-degree eye on an 1/8 ounce, 1 ounce jig head, you're not going to find anything that comes close to 3/16. But the reason these are going to be killer, and I've been using these since last summer, is because I'm calling them shapeshifter, because not only do things change shape, right, but they also change color, right? And the concepts behind the color that I'm making is my goal was to make color flow together, as I've talked about forever. I walk the walk, I talk about it. That's how I create now. I've literally got 14 colors going right now that are lights out another level, because they're going to do 2 things. One, depending on the bottom contour, they're going to change how they look. Depending on the light penetration in the water, it's going to change how they look. My jigs specifically are using pearls, clear, translucent type skirting materials that no different than what anyone else is using, but they're my designs, right? And it's all about the color and what they're going to do in the water for you. I have some really cool colors coming. I am selling them. And I have to be fair. I've told everyone for the last year plus, I said, I don't sell jigs, but I'm going to tell you why I sell jigs now. I sell jigs now because I love doing this.
Yeah.
But I make $7 a month on YouTube, and that's not cutting the mustard for me anymore. Right. I'm enjoying designing. Jig Squad is now going to be about me designing and having more fun conversations. But guys, I have some colors coming out with Tightrope I've already told you about in their Baby Fireworks Super Jig. Another company I'll name in July, which will be a Southern company, will be coming out with some of my colors in their existing jig designs. But they are going to be available. So they're thread tied. They're all custom painted by me. They're all tied by me. There's a limited amount of material in these compared to other jigs. But I'm going to tell you something. Look at that. It still looks full, but what it's going to do is it's going to allow for you to have more action on the trailer that you decide to use. And you saw, I actually put this. I mean, this is a little jig, guys. I mean, this looks different when you're holding it up, but this is a little jig.
What's the hook? Mustad?
A Mustad, yes.
Okay, cool.
It is a Mustad hook. It's probably one of the most reliable hooks in the Mustad lineup, and I've used it for a long time. I'm happy with it, and I just decided I'm not going to switch out to a Gamakatsu or other things. I did try other hooks. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't come out with these sooner, because I tried other hooks, and I'm just going to be honest. I made the decision that I was going to stick to the Mustads, which is what I've always used. So Omerta, less is more, my dude.
Right on. What trailer would you pair that up with? Yeah, hella bash. You got to pin that one.
I know. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you. One of the things that I've been pairing this size jig up a lot has been, you remember, Eric, you remember when I used to talk about using a piece of a Zoom finesse worm?
Sure.
And I love a small section of a little less than a half of a Zoom finesse worm with this jig. I like a single tail, but I will tell you what, the other one that's killer on the back end of this is the Max Scent. What is it? Little Trooper. Flatworm works really good on it.
Oh man, look, after you're done with your flatworm and you can't drop shot it anymore.
Yes,
that's
break off the head.
That's what I did with Travis.
You put it on the back of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I caught one that was 6.
Guys, I have so many cool colors in this. And I'll be honest with you, I wanted to come out with these colors because I want to be able to talk about translucency in silicone baits. And I knew that I couldn't do it unless I at least got out of the gate with some of my own stuff. Eric, you remember when you were talking about the clacky wacky?
Yeah.
I think you had talked about the clacky wacky months ago, but you're like, I ain't saying more about this until I'm done with this because the rogues are all going to take it and on it goes. And no disrespect to anyone.
I don't matter, man. Imitation is a form of fly. I've never seen a clacky wacky. Maybe somebody's done it, but I thought that was a first, man. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jason Jones. What does he say? Jason Jones says, a Chicagoan guy, I love supporting the tightrope guys and the rigs catch. Yeah. Jason, that's so true, buddy. And you know what the deal is? Like I said, I have two colors that are going to be coming out. Actually, I'm just gonna we'll wait a little bit to talk about the colors, but they're going to come out in the Baby Fireworks Super Jig.
Heck yeah, man!
They're killer. They're super killer. They're my style. One color for sure falls in line with this translucency that I'm talking about.
Right on, man.
And it is going to be. It's an absolute banging color for the Great Lakes. That's all I'm going to say about it. It is not a classic green pumpkin, but it is going to be an absolute fish slayer on the Great Lakes. And it's different than anything else that they have going right now. So there are going to be two unique Jigsquad colors in this Baby Fireworks Super Jig.
So you designed this 1/8 ounce that you're working with.
Yes.
When are you going to fish that? Like where? Like flats when the fish are up? I mean, talk to us.
Yes. Okay. So 2 things. One, I designed this originally because I had a friend that it morphed into what the design became. I designed this to make a small micro jig for a friend that says, hey, he showed me a picture of the missile baby Ikes and all those baby baits. He goes,
yeah,
I want this for X River. And I said, okay, I'm going to start making these. Well, if I'm going to make them, I got to start testing them, right? So I've told him, I said, I'm ready to go. Like I'm making these and I've tested them. And a lot of the colors are colors that I've had for a while, right? I've just been holding on to them. And so river systems, current-based systems where you're going to be working current, right? Lifts, pulls, current seams, these things are going to excel. And the reason is because I designed them to be an 1/8 ounce because you can add weight to your jig however you so please, but you can't take weight away, right? Yeah. So you want to have, I like 1/8 ounce in a river system does amazing things in current. And I wanted a smaller profile in that micro football jig category. But what I also figured out that they're good for is then in open water situations, similar to where people are fishing smallmouth with a Ned rig.
Yeah.
So basically it came down to me creating something to say, I want to create something that is going to be able to condense a little bit, right? And not be this big bulky profile. But also you could do a couple different things with this. If you lift and pull this in deeper water, you could fish it differently than a Ned rig. And the reason is because you're going to get this different movement than you're ever going to get out of a Ned, right? Ned is very specific in terms of what you're trying to do. But what this bait is going to do, you could fish it on the bottom like a Ned, but you can also lift it up and allow it to float back down with subcurrents in the water. Deeper water is always going to have subcurrents. But in order to do that, you need something lighter. you can't be throwing a 3/8 ounce jig in order to get those same types of functions. So I basically wanted to create a finesse jig that you could fish in river systems for slip and current.
Yeah.
But then also it became something that you can use in deep water or shallow water, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
On the Great Lakes. And it's why I decided not to use a weed guard, guys. There's no weed guard in these.
Yeah.
And some people are going to be like, I need a weed guard in my jigs. Well, Mike Murphy doesn't. So I said, I'm going to make these. Now, keep in mind, the original request for these was from a friend.
Yeah.
Right. And he doesn't even have them yet. Right. So now I have a whole bunch to give him. But I needed to make sure that they worked and did what I wanted them to do. And they do. So now the thing is, then I start designing colors. And I'm like, well, everyone likes, I call them FTPs, for the people, right? People, what do people want? They want black and blue. They want all these standard colors. Well, I don't like the standard colors sometimes. I like these other things. So, but because I'm making this as a micro football and I believe it should be fished on the bottom, lifted up, trying to allow that skirt to do what it's going to do, right, in a smaller profile.
Man. The flow.
Right. So basically, you're not looking at a bait fish pattern. You're looking more at a craw pattern. So I said, well, how can I change some standard crawfish colors and patterns? Like, as an example, blue craw, right?
Yeah.
How am I going to take blue craw and make that into something that involves my style of translucency, and it's going to help change based on the bottom, which is going to help it blend in more. So when you're moving this on the bottom and it blends in a little bit more, and the fish is looking at it and they're going to go, it's moving. And I'm not 100% sure what it is. I'm going for it.
I'm eating it.
Yes. And that was the goal behind it. I don't know. People are going to say, you really put that much thought in it? Yes, I did. I did, because I don't want to make something that everyone else is making. That's the truth. And so I decided to do it.
When you say slipping current, like slipping seams, talk to me, man. I'm not a I'm not a river smallmouth expert. I mean, I understand what a seam is from like fly fishing. So talk to me.
Very similar concept, right? So when you're fishing a jig, and let's say you're coming up to a current in a smaller riverine type system, right?
Yeah.
And which is typically means you're going to have faster flowing water, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times because there's less depth than you're going to find in larger rivers. The reason you don't see as much current, you think you don't see as much current in larger river systems, is because the depth. Smaller river systems are not going to be as deep, so it's going to visually look like there's more current in the. So what we do is, it's no different than fly fishing. You're going to cast upstream of an eddy that you see, and as that eddy meets that current seam, I want to be on that, because that's where the fish are at, right?
Right.
So you can either fish in the eddies, or a lot of times those fish are going to be on the current seams right behind, like bridges is a classic example.
Yep.
The backside of bridges, you're going to get a certain amount of rise in terms of the bottom contour, but you're also going to get that current running along the side of that material accumulation behind the bridge pile.
Yeah.
So those seams are deadly. And you can, once you start getting in the water in a river where you would be wading, you're basically starting to learn where all these little rocks and nooks and slight little dips are. Well, when that happens,
crime lies for sure.
Yes, and I call that slip and current, which is different than what the fly guys are going to call it. But I call it whenever whenever you're slipping a jig or pulling a jig through a current seam, it's a very touch and feel thing.
Yeah,
and the magic, like you talk to a steelheader like Travis and all his split shots, right? Yeah. What's the purpose of all those split shots for steelheaders? Well, their goal, and you know this, Eric, their goal is to get that slow drift, multiple split shots underneath their float to get the perfect drift.
Yep.
This jig becomes your tool to do that with a spinning rod, because you don't want a heavier jig. You want a lighter jig that you're able to lift and bump along in that current.
Yeah.
Right
on.
And it's going to be able to move, but you could do that with like a 3/8 ounce jig. But the reality is, it's going to fall right back down, right?
You're hung up a lot.
Yes, you're hung up a lot. So when you go with a lighter jig, you're not going to get hung up as much. But what it teaches you is to really, you've got to feel, it's not, I don't want to call it tight lining, but you've got to learn to work your bait as it goes along with that. And
kinda, it's tight lining. I mean, that's how I fly fish, man. I think that, it's a great example.
It's
great.
true.
I just want to understand from your perspective, slipping current seams. It's cool. I like it. I get it.
And the materials like right up my alley. Like the amount. I don't know, man. I'm super excited about it. What did Anthony say here? He goes, gotta start working the corners, Jason. It's honestly not a bad gig. Money's decent. Great point by Anthony. Corners are definitely valuable. Let's see. Gary is saying, I'm wondering if a shad dart type head with sparse tie would fish well in the current. So Gary, the concept is, right, Eric, let's double team on this. The concept of a darter head is that it's gonna break through the current easier, right?
Right.
How drastic is that? It's not that drastic. It's not that you can't do it with a different styled head, but what it is going to do, and I want you guys to keep this in mind, it's also going to allow you to fish lighter, different line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because your line, it might be one of the biggest areas of resistance and heavier current. For you being able to work your bait appropriately or how you want.
Right on. I like it, Kuda. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, dude, this is what I've been doing. And I have so much. These are just the ones that I put. If you guys want to see good little snips of the colors, go on Instagram. They're there. The orange craw is called, I call it crackalack craw. I'm calling this like a purple goby. And then this is a ghost blue craw.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of other good ones coming, you guys. I'm having fun with this. This is supposed to be fun. So, like, you see Eric having fun with all his creations on the Bass Lab. Hey, what would happen? What would happen? You know what, Eric? Maybe we got to do this. Yeah. What would happen if maybe we do a little consultation and I get some color ideas for you, and then I make a specific epic color?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we need to do it. And the only place they'll be available will be on the Bass Lab.
Bravo.
Never to be available anywhere else again.
I love it. I got some colors I need.
Okay.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Are you
I think it'd be fun.
A 1/8, 3/16? Well, like what sizes are coming? 1/8 to 3/16 or just
8 ounce for sure to start.
Yep.
In time, it may go up to that 3/16 or quarter. Okay. But for now, it's just gonna be
Gator's Adventure says Jig Lab.
Jig Lab
collab.
Jig Lab collab. I you guys, here's the thing. You gotta understand something. Some of the funnest times I've had with Jig Squad is when Eric was around, right? And the thing is, Eric never really went anywhere. Eric was just fishing tournaments. And Eric, I've told the story. Like I told everyone, I go, Eric and I had a discussion, and I had said, I'm like, hey, I got to figure out what I want to do when you're not there. Do I want to run it on my own? Do I want to bring in another host? When you were doing tournaments last year in 2022.
Yep.
And so like I said, guys, nothing ever left. Guys come back, and I'll tell you what, it's like Eric never left. And so the goal is going to be, after we get to midpoint of this year, Eric's one person I'd like to have on more frequently, right? And other people too, and joining in and just hanging out and BSing. I think it'd be fun. There's not a better creative mind in the lure making game than Eric. And
I appreciate that. Thanks, Kuda.
It's a lot of fun. Like, he inspires me. He always has, and I have more fun when he's around. I just do, because I like seeing Eric get excited, you guys. So like he geeks out about it. And like,
I do, man. I do. I saw Omerta in the comments. He's making some great stuff, man. I can't wait to see some of his creations come out, man. I love the garage guys, man. It's what I'm all about, dude. It's like, that's why I think I love a lot of the JDM stuff, because it's so unique. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. You really thought about your jig. You have a purpose for your jig. You're really thinking about your colors. You're thinking about the design, the flow. It's the essence of what Jig Squad is. And it's nice to see the other makers joining in and having commentary, man. This is where I get my bait fix, dude. I
mean, it's, Eric, is so fun, because here's the thing. A lot of things become a grind sometimes in business, and
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be honest with you. There's a couple things, right? And Eric, let's see, what else do I have to load off on this night so people understand? Like I said, Jig Squad's not going anywhere, but it is going to change come June. It's just going to be different. We're going to be on, but we're going to have more people on BSing. Maybe we might even have 3 or 4 people on BSing.
There you go. That would be fun.
I just want all you guys in chat to have a good time and have fun with it too. And I know sometimes the interviews, like sometimes it's rinse and repeat, right? And then so that happens too. All right, Tom Morehouse, fluorocarbon line only with a micro jig. No, I wouldn't say fluoro only, but I do think you could definitely go braid to a fluoro leader. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I like that Berkeley nanofill on the rivers, on small river systems. I really like that Berkeley nanofill. And
I use that nanofill for like speckled trout fishing down in the Outer Banks. Dude, I throw the 6-pound nanofill to a 10-pound Yozuri disappearing pink fluorocarbon leader, and I whack. You could
probably cast that thing halfway across the ocean.
Mile. I use a Nix custom rod. He lives in the Outer Banks. He used to be the shop guy manager at TW's down there, which was one of the biggest tackle stores in the Outer Banks. And I walked in and I was looking for a trout rod. It's like 7.5 feet, and it's super whippy because trout have a really soft mouth. And he turned me on to the CI4, like it's a 1000. And, I can have a bunch of line on that thing. Dude, I whip a little jig as far as I want. I'll cast everybody. So if they're on a oyster bar out of casting distance for all the other trout guys, man, I can get it going, man. And
are we done with nanofill? Hella's saying, is nanofill discontinued? And I knew some of the colors. I thought some of the colors.
I use white. I use the white nanofill.
The chartreuse in the nanofill is discontinued. I don't know why they did that.
I use the white.
I thought the white was still out there.
I don't know. I haven't bought any in a while because it lasts so damn long.
It does last forever. And you know what? Here's the thing. When you're able to go smaller diameter, and I know Eric's talking about using the Outer Banks, but think of it like this too, guys. The reason I like nanofill in the river systems is because that smaller diameter, it cuts current so good.
Heck yeah.
It allows you to have better contact with your bait.
Yeah.
All right,
6 or 8 or 10. What do you use in nanofill, Kuda?
I like 8. I just do. But I have a friend that likes 6, so I just like 8 because it's,
it is what it is. So Hella Bass, Josh Bertrand, do some of the pros use that as their braid? I'm really curious because it doesn't seem, at least in the 6-pound, to be very abrasion resistant.
Same thing in the 8. It's just
I use it like Power Pro or Cortland.
Eric, the first time I used it, this is no joke. It was last summer up in Mille Lacs, and we're up there fishing, and we go out one day with Jim DeRosa, who's a guide up there. He used to run a podcast show out of Chicago for like 25, 30 years, right? Yeah. Very well-known guy in Midwest fishing scene. But Jim moved up there, and he's a guide, and he's helped out the kids from our high school and with their bass fishing team. But Jim's up there. So Jim says, hey, I'm taking you guys out. Just a couple of you are coming on the boat with me. So one day, my buddy's in there, and I jump in the boat with my buddy, and then Jim DeRosa, the guide. And he's like, he doesn't want us to bring our rods. Well, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want to bring my own hair jig rod. I felt like I had to do it. But nonetheless, so I go on his boat, and I'm using his stuff. Well, it's all Berkeley and Abu Garcia stuff, right? So the first cast I make with like a swim jig, like a Kitech, right? I casted this spinning rod, and I just sat there for a second. I tapped my buddy on the shoulder. I go, this might be the furthest casting line I've ever used in my life. One simple cast, I was like halfway across the lake. And I said, what line is on this, Jim? Because this, it was that noticeable. It wasn't even like, wow, that's kind of smooth. No, it was the smoothest line I've ever used in my entire life. Wow. It was that good.
Wow.
I love it now, but hell is telling me I got to stockpile it because it might be going away. So
the chartreuse is going away.
For sure, the chartreuse I heard was gone. But white, like I just
could you just dunk the whole spool in dip and dye?
To be honest with you,
I wonder what that would do.
I bet you maybe it would work.
Would it like destroy the line? Would it melt your whole spool?
Well, there's only
it's
one
just
way
dye.
to find out.
No, get some of your old line, like if you're about to change it, and like dip a strand there and see if it just explodes. Like goes up in smoke.
Oh gosh, it's hilarious. It's interesting. So, all right, Eric, what do you have coming up? What's coming up for tournaments?
Yeah, great
what else
question.
do you have going?
Man, so we got some championships. We got to jump into one more cat tournament on anywhere in North Carolina to qualify for their championship. We've already qualified for the Angler's Choice Championship, and we've already qualified for the Collins Championship. So multiple championships around May, and then we got a few in September and maybe one in November, and then a lot of tournaments in between. So yeah.
Very nice.
Forward to it, man.
And of course, you're doing everything you can to hold down posting and advertising in the Smallmouth Crush Show.
That's right.
as Travis is finishing his final stages of transitioning.
He's out of control, man. I mean, I get it. It's a big project. So yeah, man. Hopefully he'll get back on point, start to get out of the water. I hope to be fishing with him a little bit here soon. Yeah, he's going to fish. I'd like to jump in one or two with him. I know Riz wants to jump in a couple. So I'm looking forward because last year I fished a tournament while you were offline. Riz from the Bass University. And, I've been on the show a couple times, so we got to know each other a little bit.
Sure.
And Riz said, hey, man, you want to jump in a derby with me? And we did it last fall. And we practiced in absolute downpour most of the day. Cold weather. I literally was drenched. But we started out and, look, I'm on Riz's boat. So I'm in the back. I'm not saying much. And he's fishing areas that I would fish in the fall. So, fishing some of the same things. It was really cool to watch because he fishes the Upper Bay way more than I do. But I've had a lot of experience up there.
Sure.
And the fish, to me, chase the shad in the fall. And they start to migrate to the backs of creeks. Where is the concentration of shad? And what are they tuned into? I've won a couple championships there in this time frame. And so, we're not getting bites and we're fishing cherry prime stuff. And I'm like, man, I'll ask the bass heads on the stream. We had a cold front, a lot of shad present. They were not biting power style bait. What did I catch my first bass on? It's a balsa bait, and it's made by a very famous company. And I've talked about this a ton. I throw it in the spring, and I'll throw it again in the fall when it gets tough. It's the Shad Rap. And I caught a fish on a Shad Rap. And then so we approached the dock, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull out the River Rat spinnerbait. Do it in chartreuse shad nasty because the wind was blowing like 15. It had dirtied up the water a little bit. I had I think a 3-inch, 2.8, no, 3-inch, 3-inch Strike King. I forget what the size is. It's about 3 inches. Caught like rage swinger, caught a 4.5 on it. And I'm like, that's all I needed to see. I'm like, I know what they want. I know where they're lying. And we went to work. And I caught about a 5 on a Marty Burns balsa crankbait. This one right here. It's a flat side, but it is a thicker flat side, if you will. It's not a skinny one. It casts like a champ. I threw it in a shad color. You notice the red hook. That's a Gamakatsu red hook, which is actually gold underneath once they chew the shit out of it. That was a practice fish. And then I caught another River Rat 4.5 later in the day out of a grass bed. So we eliminated some areas. We narrowed it down. Riz made the great calls, man. And we had a limit pretty quick. In one of the areas we fished, I don't know, he went on a tear with a rattle trap, and I was smoking him on this crankbait.
Nice.
And then with like 15 minutes to go, we're within sight of the ramp. I'm throwing that same crankbait, and I catch like a 5 and change. And we weighed in 24.81 in a Maryland river.
That's a mighty bag.
That was the bag of the year, and we got big fish too. So the whole year, biggest bag weighed in that tournament series. In that tournament series, it might have been the biggest bag in a tournament up there, but that was the big bag for that tournament series all year, including in the spring, where you get the mega bags up there. So that was the first time we'd ever fished together.
That's great. Because a lot of times the biggest bags that come out of those tournaments are like high 22s, maybe 23, low 23.
Yeah.
Nothing. I never heard anything higher than 20. Actually, I haven't heard even people 23s lately.
Yeah. Riz he made great calls, man. Dude is a stick. And it was really fun fishing with him, man. So I said, Riz, we talked about it after tournament. I'm like, dude, we just fished our first tournament together. We won it and weighed in the bag of the year, and we got big fish. I'm like, I think we should just drop the mic and never fish together again. Because what if we suck? That would stink.
So we got 2 questions here. I'm going to get to JP Harrell's in 1 second, but Tom's saying, what braid are you using on the NRX 852s?
Yes.
And the recoil guides tear up my Alberto knot.
That is, recoil guides are tough on if you're trying to drop shot, for sure. I agree, or whatever you're trying to do. But JP, I throw I think that day I threw the number 6 because I like it just a little bit bigger. That number 5 is small, and I always throw it on a spinning rod. And I'll throw number 5 Gamakatsu round bends on my Shad Raps, almost exclusively.
Red?
I'll throw a red one on the belly hook, and I'll throw a bronzy on the back. Almost all the time. For me, it's a confidence thing. People are like, red disappears in the water. Yeah, no, it doesn't. I'm fishing like 4 to 6 feet, and sometimes 2 foot or 1 foot. So my -1 the other day, I was out with Billy Kramer, and this was really cool. This is a color thing, Cuda. So I'm throwing a very popular super shallow crankbait, and it was more orange. So I took a red Sharpie and actually took a dye pen, colored it first so it had the garlic smell, and then I let it dry, and then I went over it with the red Sharpie. And dude, I was burning it through the grass, and they were throating it. And my buddy Kramer, I was helping him practice for his tournament, and he goes, he made me, because we're throwing the same bait, by the way, he made me cut off my bait. And I'm like, dude, yours is sinking. He goes, don't they make a sinking version of that bait? I'm like, Kramer, this is your first fucking day on the water. No, they don't make a sinking version. You cracked it. Have you ever been with a guy that throws like they got a great bait, and it might even be plastic, and they're fishing grass, and then they smack the hell out of the bait to get the grass off, like they're mad at the bait. It's like, bah, 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 bah. Like, oh, you're hurting me, man, because look, even plastic baits, you can get a plastic bait that is uber tuned up. They are not all the same, even though they come out of a machine. Wood baits, for sure, you will find differences in wood baits. The density, one hunts a little bit more. It's a lighter weight balsa versus a denser balsa. Wood is just magic in wood. Even plastic baits can catch them better than others. So it was hurt me. And I'm like, you have obviously smacked the shit out of bait so much, it's got a crack and there's water in it. Or it just quit on you because it doesn't want to float anymore. And I was throwing it on a 7-1. He was throwing it on like a 5. He throws it on really slow reel. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So depth, speed, and cadence. And, I was basically reeling 5 times and popping it. I was giving it action. It hunts because of the design of the bait. But I was burning it. So if you were lucky enough to get one of my super shallow crankbait packs, you got one of them in there. So
nice.
Yeah, they're sold out, but that'd be the time to bring out another super shallow, because they get shallow in the spring on our rivers, man. And if you ain't throwing like a -1 style bait, and there's a bunch of sneaky baits I have in the super shallow. I've plumbed the depths of super shallow crankbaits, Japan, domestic, and other, and I found some gems, and some are discontinued, and some are still made.
It's nice, buddy. I have this in the back of my head, and I don't know what this looks like, but. And this is, I'm not trying to change off of cranks here because I like this too. What are there any lakes on the wish list for legendary lakes that you might hit this summer or fall? Because I know spring's a big one. You start the process in the spring for the legendary lakes touring.
Yep.
Mostly down in,
I was in Florida.
Florida for sure.
Florida, I went to the Kissimmee chain. Yeah, and I did a little video with
Larry and them.
Yeah, with Eric Guarino from Uncle Larry Outdoors. He used to be Eric the intern on the Ike Live show, and he did a great edit for me. But that was the Kissimmee chain with Garrett Rockamora, and then so that was a brand new body of water. It was a really cool chain of lakes. I'd love to go back. didn't hit it great. Garrett Rockamora is he is without question the best flipper that I've ever watched flip a bait, flip and pitch.
Okay.
He pitched it like he reels. What does he do? He reels with his left hand. Oh no, yeah. Wait a minute. He was able to cast left-handed and never switch hands and click it. I didn't even know how he did it, man. I wish I filmed it, but it was ridiculous. Yeah, it never touched the bait. It was just like a machine. And like he'd put it right next to a reed clump every time. It was, and I think we must have flipped 1,000. We both caught one each.
Oh, wow.
So, and Garrett wins a lot of tournaments down there, team tournaments down there, because of his flipping prowess. So it was we caught some fish. Don't get me wrong. We caught some nice ones, 5s and 6s. He caught a 7 and change, I think.
Yeah.
At the end of the day on a Senko.
So now are you going to go? Are you going to go north or northwest at all?
For sure.
Like, do you have things in your head that you want to hit this fall? Basically, I guess is what I'm getting at.
That's a great question, man. Yeah, I'm grinding. The concept would be I gotta get to Texas somehow. So Sean Hernke, the guy I mentioned that, and here's a better picture of the ditch melon because I have it out of the back.
Yeah. I want to put this up because I love this color.
Yeah. So a little bit of a pearl white belly, and then a lot of gold in that bait. Can you see the gold?
Yes.
And then, heavy orange up top with the kicker blade. So I'd like to go to Texas to meet Elroy Kruger. Sean Hernke, who I hired a long time ago to do a bass class with me down in Texas. It's my first time in Texas. I fished Lake Conroe in Texas where they had the Bassmaster Classic where Jordan Lee won. Sean taught me how to bed fish. And I took one of my recruiters. It was kind of a trip that I wanted to learn. And one of my recruiters that worked out of Texas wanted to go bass fishing with me. So I hired Sean, and we did I did 2 days with him and Charlie did 1, and we caught some hammer dogs, man. First time I ever saw a beaver.
And you're good going down there in the fall. It doesn't have to be a early spring.
Yeah, you'd always like to go someplace when it's supposed to be on fire, right?
Right.
But at some point I got to just start making the journey out west. So I gotta think through it, run a business. So that's a consideration too. And, I'd love to have my wife fly and meet me places, but I definitely want to head out there, see my bro, see my daughter, and meet it with some of the people that, Kentucky Lake is on it. I'd love to meet Darius King. I've got the list upstairs. I haven't thought through it. I keep delaying it, but at least I made it to Kissimmee chain this spring, right? I got one more off the list. I had to make it to the Kissimmee chain. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, I'm assuming, so I know Travis made mention about possibly trying to get a couple of tournaments in, or some competitions with you on the recipe. But, what's funny is I know he's going to be up north quicker before we even know it, right? So you're probably going to head up north at some point too. Later in the summer.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is good.
We might try to get back, because we did the Dirty 30 last year, got to fish with Hank Parker, which was really incredible.
Yeah.
That was cool. Cool. Don't sleep on that Ned rig, man. That Leal General. That thing it's a little bit fatter than your Z-Man Ned.
Yeah.
And of course it's got max scent. And I'll tell you this much, man, it gets big bites. So and I threw everything I threw that day. Another little tip for you guys was not on the Ned head, and Travis has never used it. I threw it on the Z-Man football head. That's a bad little bitch. And of course, me, I tie a little material on all my shit, and I used an old school grub. And I was whacking the shit.
Now you made my day.
For the Dirty 30, that's one of the things I threw a lot. Now, Hank asked us when we came out on his boat, out of respect to Berkeley and his premier sponsor, he said he only had one rule: didn't care what rod and reel or line we used, right? Because he's all Berkeley and Abu Garcia. But he said just use Berkeley plastics. And so I was happy to use the Leal General. And I caught the first several fish. I found them, and I had the dead stick to get a bite.
Really?
It's the very next day after we caught the Dirty 30, and we wore them out there. It might have been a few days after that, actually. It might have been the
That's
I
nice.
don't know. It was like the
Eric,
next
I'll
day.
tell you something about grubs though.
Yeah.
Well, two things. One, I mean, the Maxent stuff is just it's good. But
Yeah.
separate from that, you guys, I'll tell you the truth. My
grub was not Maxent. It was regular old.
The power bait grub is one of the best out there. It really is.
Very good.
It just catches fish. I mean, it's power bait. Power bait. There's not one person in the room that hasn't had good luck with power bait over the years, but their grub has been phenomenal over the years. And I love it on the Great Lakes. It used to be two primary things, a grub and a tube. And there was nothing like swimming a grub and doing things in current situations. I still to this day will fish a grub on the river systems, but I really like
people forgot about the grub.
Dude,
like,
it's funny.
It's out
a
of
lot
favor.
Of people did.
Why?
I don't know.
Right? It's Ned Mania, and I picked up that grub. It was a G-tail grub, by the way, and it was it was a Japanese G-tail grub because it came in like this sand color. Dude, they ate the shit out because I bought it because it looked like a goby.
The G-tail grub, anything called like a tab tail, similar styles.
Tab tail, G-tail, yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, I don't know what happened. Like, I really like the one I really like a lot now, but I have to scent it up. I really like the Zoom Fat Albert grub. That's my new grub.
One of my favorites of all time. There you go. The Yamamoto grub did me right for years. I used to throw that thing on the Potomac, man. Oh,
yeah.
God, the tail's so thin, so soft. But the Fat Albert's badass too, man. Avocado. Okay, here's the tail. So this is a Rains. This is the G tail in their ringworm, but this will give you a sense of the shape. And this is a color that I really like because this is called cola, but it's a chameleon. You see that pinkish? It kind of goes from brown to pink.
Oh yeah.
I love a color shift. Chameleon, and it's really hard to find anymore. Because as I understand it, chameleon dye stains bait makers equipment, so they don't
really.
So there's the G tail. See the little G on the end? I'll try to do it.
Yeah, dude.
See the end of it? It's and the grub is much bigger. It's like a 3.5 inch grub, and it came in the sand color. And they always put shrimp stuff in these. So, but a ringworm for you bass nuts.
Oh yeah, dude.
And you're struggling on our rivers. Anybody who fishes the Potomac or Upper Bay in the summer, days, or during the spawn, that little joker right there is a forgotten bait, and it will kick some ass. I have worn them out, man. You can go behind people and just do work. So there's a little bass tip for you dudes.
Why do you think, Eric, why do you think things like the grub, and I'm not saying tube, because I think some people think tubes went away. I never thought they went away. I've always used them. But for the grub, a lot of people went away for a grub. I'll tell you why. I think there's been an evolution of things that people started using is trailers and in other systems. The Ned bait, unquestionably. But the other thing that came along that started changing things, Baxter, the bait man talked about this on the show years ago. But when they started coming out with the beaver tail baits as trailers and stuff like that, that changed a lot of things.
Yeah, sure.
What were some other profile baits that came along that started to change people just using simple grub tails? Obviously a Ned. It's just, it feels like there's been so many well, I don't necessarily want to say revolutionary, but there's been the standout things that have happened in the bait industry. Ned bait being one of them, chatterbait's another. But in terms of other plastics, beaver styled baits that maybe you didn't classify as like the brush hogs and stuff like that. But just those baits have become, that category of baits have launched entire new categories themselves. Yeah. And I just think people moved away from a grub. They weren't new anymore. How many people fish a classic worm anymore?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the Berkeley 4-inch power worm. Holy hell. I would throw that on a Oldham's screw lock, unpainted jig head that I would take a Sharpie before I threw it, 1/8 ounce always, and it had a wire weedless keeper on it. And I'd pitch that around docks, man, after people had gone through and fished the dock, and I'd fucking wear them out. I stopped throwing shit like that. Why did I stop throwing stuff like that? They didn't stop biting it.
No, right. Eric,
You know,
so you told John 1/8 ounce bullet weight.
Yeah.
You said 1/8 ounce bullet weight with the J-bend hook, 1 odd or 2 odd. And then I think JP was saying he was wondering the same thing. But what about what weight and pegged or unpegged? How about that?
I'd probably, for that one, if I was in cover, I'd peg it. If I was not in cover, unpeg.
Okay. And then line size, what do you typically?
Man, you can get away with 12-pound co-poly or fluoro, but 10 will probably get you a few more bites if you're brave enough. And if you're really brave, 8 will get you a whole lot more bites.
I know. Look at here. Andrew makes a good comment here. Here's another category of bait that's become insanely popular and spawned a whole nother category of baits. Everyone's throwing a paddle tails now instead of a grub. You're probably right, dude.
Yeah, true. But it was really interesting, just on a naked ball head jig and or a jig head that I tied a little bit of material on. You know me, I'm gonna put some crystal flash in there. You know me, I can't help myself.
Right. You can't leave it alone.
Feather wrap. Well, like the shaky jig worm, right? I'm gonna do the same thing on the football head.
Yes.
And man, on a grub, they didn't leave it alone. It was out fishing it. I'm just telling you.
That's so awesome.
I was doing some work, man. It was doing work. It was very cool, very cool.
Eric, let's start wrapping this up. This summer, let's do some just we'll call them banter nights or something, and then we'll get some other people on, and then we'll just BS and hang out. I think I feel that no matter what, Jig Squad is going to incorporate that into the experience. I think like topics like this tonight, where we just keep talking about different baits or however it flows, is fun. But it's all bait talk, The one thing no one's ever gotten on here is a lot of BS ever. Like we talk, it's baits, right?
Right, dude. We held up a lot of shit today. This is one of the things from this is one of the things, and who was it? Duseki Ayuko, or I can't remember his name.
Okay.
But they were throwing that cube bait. He had like a squid bait today that he was throwing on Murray for spawners. And this is a squid bait from Nico. And dude, out of spawning fish, holy shit! I'm putting that to work, man. Yeah,
Eric? I remember when he was on the show on Smallmouth Crush.
Yeah,
the Nico guy.
Yeah,
and that squid bait, it comes in 2 sizes, right?
Yeah, they got a big one too.
But that size, I mean, look at that thing.
I know, right? Right. And I got it on a chartreuse. I mean, it's ugly on the chartreuse side.
Oh, no, dude.
I found it. But, I mean, it's visible. I can imagine if you put that in a largemouth bed, they'd want to, because it floats. That shit would be going like this. Ooh. And they'd never seen it. Would it work? That's the shit that, like, if I lived on a pond and I ran a YouTube channel, this is the shit that I'd be filming. Crazy whack that shit like that. I'd be putting these blades on a football jig. I'd be dragging that stuff around. And that's what I like to do. Different stuff, man.
What you hold up? A pack of Switchblades?
Yeah, Oh, you were off when I
yeah.
I was it John DeMay? John sent me some football jigs from Dim Jigs, and he goes, "Dude, try Switchblade on a football jig." And I did it, and it was in practice because Scooter was like, "If you throw that in tournament, I'm gonna hit you." And I'm like, "Okay, man, let me just fuck around for a second." I just want to drag a jig around, you know what I mean? Because we were catching them on crankbaits. And so I was dragging it, and it came through the rocks extremely well. He goes, "Look, we're leaving right now," because he doesn't ever stay around long enough for me to do anything like that. You know what I mean? It's target practice, and we're gone. Boom, boom, boom. 50, 60. Oh, dude, it's go time.
That's so great.
Yep.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, listen, this summer.
Good stuff, man. Yeah,
we're gonna
thanks
get
for having
together
me on,
again.
bro.
I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for holding down the fort as
You got it. Congrats
tried to figure out the broken electronics. It just required me to restart the computer. So,
no worries, man. Congrats on the new jig. I think that's very cool. You got it, man. You got it. And I am headed up to oh, look at that, man. Maybe a new color river rat. Black Knight, bro.
Oh yeah, I have a couple cool
with black blades. What? Anyway,
I have a series of 4 different baits that have black in them that will be coming out in that jig.
Nice.
So, yep, it's gonna be fun. So
yeah.
Listen, buddy, I appreciate you a ton. I'm sure everyone's happy to see you. And again, in any capacity that they can, bud. But let's hook up this summer and
you got it,
get
man.
back at it a little more. We'll bring some other people on and have some fun. All right.
I love it, man. Thanks, Kuda. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Great comments, man. Thanks for letting me get my bait talk on. This is some of my favorite stuff to do. You guys know it. I know I rambled a little bit, but what are you going to do? Broke Electronics, Kuda.
Yeah, that's me.
Funny,
that's my name. Guys, Bass Lab, bigcartel.com.
Yeah.
Link is also available down in the description. But we appreciate you very much. And
yeah, man. And support your local bait makers, man, like
exactly
Jigsquad,
right.
Omerta, and all the guys that are doing stuff out of the garages, man, making stuff right here in the good old US of A. Even if a hook's made in China, dudes, they're doing stuff here, man. So
that's right.
Personally, the garage stuff is the best stuff made, man, in my opinion, man. There's a lot of thought that goes into these bait makers designs, and it's really cool to support them, man. And I really appreciate your platform, because that's what you do, Kuda. You showcase the guys in the jig world, man, and they deserve a platform like this to be seen and heard. So it's all good, man.
Absolutely, brother. All right, guys, we're out. Peace. I gotta hit end broadcast. I have to remember these things, Eric.